Well, welcome everybody. I am so happy to be here with Jeff DeWispelare, um, President and CEO of Omaha Home for Boys. Jeff, thank you for joining me again. I think we had this conversation last year, but thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about everything.
Yeah. So Omaha Home for Boys, I mean, celebrating 100 years. What a rich history, an important history that Omaha Home for Boys has had in our community. And I'm gonna let you kind of dive in and talk about the history a little bit. We are going to talk about the 100-year celebration that's going to be happening in September. That should have happened last year, but didn't. But
Exactly.
And that's an exciting event coming up. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the history of Omaha Home for Boys.
Well, you're right. There's not a lot of agencies out there that can say they've turned 100, and we're kind of laughing at the office. We're going to turn 100 twice because the pandemic interrupted our birthday party. So we're gonna move it to this year, and we're gonna have a great time. So, but yeah, 100 years. So we were founded by the Masons back in 1920, and have progressed from being an orphanage back in those days to, now we have about 5 different services that work with kids in high school age all the way up to 26 years old, with young kids, without kids, all that kind of stuff. So we're pretty proud of the continuum we've built. We've taken history and then we've kind of stacked on top of that and got better each year. So we just hope to have a better next 100 years than we had the last. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's always challenging because this is a big milestone for any nonprofit organization. And do you just serve boys, or do you also serve girls?
We do serve girls, and that's probably the most unknown thing about us. We've been serving girls since 1994 officially, and last year we served more girls than we served boys, which is kind of crazy. And that's one of the reasons, if you've seen our new logo that I have here on my shirt, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but we switched to the moniker just OHB because we're not just a home, we're not just Omaha, we're not just boys. And so we're trying to progress into that next step. And yeah, we have services for all ages. The upper, I should say, not all ages, but basically high school and up. And yeah, we've served more girls than boys, which is crazy.
That is crazy. And I honestly, I love when I have interviews with people that I learn things that I didn't actually know. So, because it is, I mean, we're a community, and serving the youth in general is, oh my gosh, it's so important. So important. Yep. So, all right. The 100-year anniversary celebration coming up, again, that you did have to postpone from last year to this year. What is that all about? Do you have several things going on, or is it just the event itself?
Well, we have a couple smaller, alumni events and things like that on campus, for those that have either, but for the public side of it that's the big event, September 9th. And we're excited to get our speaker for about 5 years, but he was busy playing football, and he finally retired. So now he has the time to do that because our event's always in the fall, and he always was training out whatever. So, but everybody, obviously, a lot of people listen to Blind Side, and then Michael Orr has his own book, and he talks about kind of the life and the movie always depicts part of it, but it doesn't tell the whole story. So he's excited to talk to us and just share a real story, going through foster care, bouncing house to house, just what our kids do every day, and then how he came out of that and ended up as a professional football player, now public speaker. So it's just a great story. So we're excited to meet him and hear his story. It fits so well with what our kids deal with, and then to see a positive role model come out of that, that'll really help as well.
The funds raised at the event, they help youth and the Omaha community. And can you be more specific on that?
Yeah, and all year long we raise money, and this is just one of our culminating event. But we take those dollars, we get paid by the state or whoever our referral agency is, but usually those dollars aren't quite enough to cover the cost. So we have to work on that fundraising piece to just fill in the gaps so that we can provide the proper service to kids. They don't, obviously this event raises money. It's a lot about friend raising too. I always use that term because getting people together. And this year we decided to, we've done evening events. This year we're trying a lunch event at the CHI. So we're trying to look more at that corporate, bring your staff by a table, all that kind of stuff, and see how that goes for us, to see which way the right way is in the future for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things, because COVID-19 for so many nonprofits just kind of, it hit everybody in unexpected ways. And then I commend you as a nonprofit. You have to okay, do we need to change this? How could we, what do we need to do? And trying out new things. So it is a luncheon on September 9th.
Correct.
And ticket sales, people can buy tickets through the website.
Yes. Yeah. ohb.org. It's available there. It's on the main page, and you just click on that, and then it'll kind of walk you through the.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's just talk briefly. I just want to talk briefly about the last year, because I know we had a conversation a year ago, and everybody was just kind of dealing with stuff. I think people aren't right. I think now we're at a point where we're not dealing with it. We actually have an action plan, and we figured some things out over the last year.
Absolutely.
And when you look at your organization, Jeff, what do you see now, and how, what are you looking at for the future?
Well, a couple of things that stood out for me. When you look at our agency, we had probably a little more than half, that they didn't have an option to work from home. They had to be with kids. Then we had a group of people that we could have work at home. And so we pivoted quickly and got the resources in place and did that. So it shows you from a work standpoint, you can do a lot. You don't have to be tied to a desk to do your work, is I guess the way I would put it. So for that's more for my type of position. Then obviously the folks that are working directly with kids, just understanding safety, the protocols. We're going to continue a lot of the safety things even after this is gone, because just coming to work and you had the flu, or people always did that, and it just would pass sickness around the office. So we're going to be more diligent about saying it's okay to stay home, work from home on the day that you're not feeling well, and that way it'll prevent any, obviously, future pandemics. I hope there's none of those down the path.
Yeah.
But so that, and then the big piece for me that, and Omaha does this to me all the time. They impress me, because at the time when it was getting really dire, and I thought, donor dollars were going to go down because market was down, all these things. Well, the folks in Omaha stepped up, and they've fulfilled their pledges. They even, some of them have increased their pledges, saying, we know you're dealing with a lot. So it just shows me that the support is there for what we do, and that makes you feel really good.
And that's the one thing. I can't speak for other communities, but I really know that about the Omaha metro area is that people do step up. And it was a time where we're getting hit with a lot of things. And also with your organization, when what you do for these youth, and it really is hands-on. And these are also youth in the community that, they don't have computers. They don't have,
Right.
cell phones necessarily. They don't have that technology piece, and they need that. A lot of them need that one-on-one communication. And I just want to commend you and say thank you for, however you had to pivot and do whatever you had to do to keep everybody engaged. I just think that's so important.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that that's one of the responsibilities I think that your organization has, is to keep everybody engaged.
Yeah, because there's, like we said, we deal in humans, right? And so you can't just take a day off of a human. We have to have people here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And during time when they're not in school, and they, there's already behavior issues, and then they're angry because they can't go out and they have to wear a mask. And so you can imagine how it felt for us. Put that on kids that have gone through a lot of trauma in their life and are already dealing with demons and aggression and all these things, and now they're really upset about things. So I commend our staff, and every time I get a chance to be on a screen anywhere, I commend the staff that was in there working every day, because I'm very proud of them. They did way more than I've done, work-wise for this during this period. It was impressive, and hiring people is very difficult right now. We had to hire folks during the pandemic and trying to keep people. You guys, I'm sure you've read, Andy, the different articles out there about the big transition, and people are leaving jobs, and it's hard to get good work right now and good people to stick with them. So
yeah. Well, I know people can support you from attending this event, which I'm so excited to. I mean, this is going to be a freaking awesome luncheon. But what are other ways that people can support Omaha Home for Boys?
Well, yeah, you said money is always a thing that we need, but we have opportunities for, especially around the holidays, but we deal a lot of things that people don't really think about or take for granted are hygiene. A lot of our kids come through system and they don't always learn the proper hygiene. So we're always trying to give them a stick of deodorant or soap or something to wash their clothes. So if your company or you individually want to do a drive of some sort to just gather things that, like I said, we take for granted and buy at the store every week, probably. We have a whole area we stock, and then that way when new kids come in, they can walk in with a new toothbrush, and we give them all their stuff so they feel, because I think being, mental health is a big deal, but physical health, and if you feel good and smell good and all those things, it makes your mental feel better as well.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. And then probably the other way is, we do, if the group's right, once we get past this pandemic, we'll have game nights and things like that, where you can bring some of your employees out and you have dinner with the youth, and then you go over to the game room and play pool and ping pong and all that, and just interact with them, because the more they can see people that are doing other things in life, the better it is for them to for their future, because they see what they could be. So we have those kind of opportunities, and that's the other two ways that we would use help. Sure.
Well, absolutely. Again, I encourage people, come to the luncheon, but thank you for those other ideas, because gosh, those are so important. And a lot of times if you're with a family, or even like you said, with your work group, if you've got people in your work group that want to bring deodorant sticks or bring other hygiene pieces or bring whatever, that's just a way to engage people around you, whether they're your family or your work environment. It's so important, and it makes a difference. And we're all here to make a difference, and we're all here to just support one another. At the end of the day, and contribute to one another, because these individuals that you serve are a contribution to our community, and they have things to contribute. And I'm so excited for the next 100 years of Omaha Home for Boys. So yeah,
we are as well, and we appreciate it very much.
Yeah. So Jeff, thank you for taking the time. I know we had some technical issues getting on the Zoom. Hopefully we'll be back in the studio soon, but right now, I really appreciate everything you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you soon. So thank you so much.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate your support, Andy. You've been great for us. And so if anybody wants to, come to the event, buy tickets. I know it's a pandemic, but if we can get some people, we'll be there. Yeah, let's do it, right? It'll be fun.
Last thing, is this both, you can in person, but can you also do this virtually?
Well, we were looking at a virtual option. I don't know that we've got that all.
Okay, and that's okay.
So right now it's in person.
Okay, so it's in person, but there's so many other ways to give if you can't get there in person. So, all right, Jeff, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.